There are a number of Robert M. Scotts out there. There are a number of Earl Butlers out there. They don't show up in the historic record individually that I could find.
Nothing lasts forever. Yet, when Pawn Stars first aired, no fan could have imagined a day when the doors would quietly begin to close on one of cable television's most recognizable shows. What started as a simple pawn shop reality series became a cultural fixture, shaping the lives of everyone involved. Now, with the show on hold after a shocking change behind the scenes, a clearer picture is only starting to emerge. What actually caused Pawn Stars to lose momentum after more than a decade at the top? And more importantly, what did the end of its golden run leave behind? Join us as we reveal the unbelievable discovery just before Pawn Stars shut down. The making of Pawn Stars. On July 19, 2009, the History Channel premiered a series about a family-run pawn shop on the outskirts of Las Vegas. On paper, the premise sounded modest. 3 generations of the Harrison family appraise items brought in by customers and decide whether to buy them. The setting itself, the gold and silver pawn shop, had been operating since 1989, open 24 hours a day, long before television arrived. For years, it was simply a local business with steady traffic and no national attention. That changed rapidly. Within 10 weeks of its debut, the show had gone from one of the network's weakest performers to its highest-rated program. By season 2, Pawn Stars was averaging around 4 million viewers per episode, an 82% jump from its first season, and, at the time, the highest-rated series in History Channel history. At its peak, individual episodes drew as many as 7.7 million viewers, making it one of the most watched reality shows on cable television, behind only Jersey Shore. At the center of that success was the Harrison family. Richard Benjamin Harrison, known as the Old Man, was born in Danville, Virginia, in 1941. A 20-year U.S. Navy veteran, he earned his nickname not simply from age, but from the commanding presence he carried, shaped by years of running ships and managing crews. On the show, his blunt authority and minimalist responses, often reduced to variations of "I don't know, ask my son," became a defining voice of stability. His son, Rick Harrison, born in 1965 in Lexington, North Carolina, dropped out of school in 10th grade. Before the pawn shop, he was already learning the mechanics of buying and selling through small-scale deals, including counterfeit goods. In 1989, he and his father secured a pawn license and opened the shop that would eventually become a television landmark. When Rick also had his son, Corey, he made sure to introduce him early on into the business. He started working at the shop at age 9, taking on basic tasks before gradually moving into management. By adulthood, he was overseeing daily operations and a large portion of the staff, positioned as the long-term successor to the family business. Then there was Chumley Russell, born in 1982 in Henderson, Nevada, and a childhood friend of Corey. He joined the shop in 2003 as a stock worker, years before the cameras arrived. His nickname came from a cartoon walrus in Tennessee tuxedo, a joke that stuck because of his appearance. On screen, he was often used as comic relief, but within niche areas like pinball machines, sneakers, and collectibles, he had genuine expertise. Filming ran at an intense pace, often around 50 hours per week, while the shop itself continued serving thousands of daily visitors at its peak. The items themselves were real, and in some cases, extraordinary. Rick once passed on a 3-piece suit, allegedly linked to George Washington, valued at $3 million. In another episode, he purchased original illustrations from Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are for $250,000. Over the course of its run, the series featured more than 2,600 unique items across more than 500 episodes. On the surface, Pawn Stars was a show about buying and selling objects. Underneath, it was a tightly managed production system built for constant storytelling momentum. And like all long-running systems, it eventually began to slow. What actually caused the cameras to stop rolling for good? The end of an era. Pawn Stars never received a formal cancellation notice from the History Channel. Instead, in early 2025, the network placed the series on what executives described as an indefinite production hiatus after an extraordinary run of 23 seasons and roughly 700 episodes. While the announcement sounded sudden, the circumstances leading to it had been building for years behind the scenes. The first major disruption came in March 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic forced the gold and silver pawn shop to close to the public for the first time in more than 30 years. Filming for season 17 was halted for 8 months, and although production eventually resumed under strict health protocols, many longtime viewers felt the show never fully regained its original energy. At the same time, the economics of the series were becoming increasingly difficult for the network to justify. By late 2023, the History Channel had reduced episode orders from more than 40 episodes per season to just 18. Behind the scenes, executives were also shifting budgets toward cheaper reality formats, such as ship salvage programs, logging dramas, and survivalist content. Compared to those productions, Pawn Stars had become costly, with the main cast reportedly earning a combined 6-figure amount per episode, while the show itself required a crew of roughly 35 people. According to Nielsen data reported by outlets such as Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, Pawn Stars reached its peak between 2012 and 2014, when episodes regularly attracted more than 5 million viewers. By its final seasons, however, average viewership had fallen below 2 million per episode, making it far more difficult for the History Channel to justify renewing the show at its previous budget levels. Those financial and creative tensions eventually reached a breaking point. In February 2025, Rick confirmed that the show was officially on indefinite hiatus after the Harrison family and the History Channel failed to agree on a new contract. Speaking to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Rick explained that Season 23, which finished airing in early 2025, was the last season produced, adding plainly, "We're not under contract with the History Channel right now." He also revealed that Corey no longer wanted to continue filming. According to Corey, he had grown tired of playing a younger version of himself on camera and no longer wanted to maintain the television persona after years in the spotlight. Without Corey's involvement, Rick acknowledged that the series, at least in the form audiences had known for over a decade, was effectively finished. However, he did leave open the possibility of a future Pawn Stars 2.0 built around a different format. Fans, however, reacted with a mix of nostalgia and resignation. But while the main cast faded from view, what became of the antique experts, historians, and specialists who appeared alongside them? The winning team. While Rick, Corey, and Chumlee carried the show, Pawn Stars quietly built an entire second cast around antique experts, historians, and restoration specialists. But when Pawn Stars went into hiatus, most of these experts were never left scrambling for work. For many of them, the show was less a career and more a powerful spotlight that pushed their real businesses to a national audience. One of the clearest examples was Rebecca Romney, the calm and sharply knowledgeable rare book specialist who appeared in more than 60 episodes between 2010 and 2020. Rebecca never actually worked for the pawn shop itself. She was employed by Bauman Rare Books in Las Vegas. By the time her appearances slowed down, she had already transformed her television exposure into something far bigger. She co-founded Type Punch Matrix, a Washington, D.C.-based rare book firm specializing in first editions, signed works, and literary artifacts. She also co-authored The Printer's Error in 2017. In interviews, Rebecca admitted the show gave her credibility in an otherwise niche field, but she always cared more about books than television. Then there was Mark Hall Patton, the bearded museum administrator whose dry delivery became one of the show's running highlights. Appearing in more than 100 episodes, Mark earned a reputation for calmly dismantling exaggerated claims with lines like, "That's not how that works." Unlike the dealers and collectors around him, he was a public historian, not a businessman chasing television fame. But the exposure still changed his career. As Pawn Stars exploded in popularity, public interest in the Clark County Museum rose with it, helping increase attendance, donations, and funding. Mark later became a sought-after speaker across Nevada, using his unexpected celebrity status not to build a brand, but to elevate public history itself. Few side experts benefited more directly than Danny Coker. Long before becoming a reality television star, Danny owned Count's Customs, a Las Vegas restoration shop specializing in hot rods and vintage vehicles. His recurring appearances on Pawn Stars gave the business national exposure and eventually led to his own History Channel spin-off, Counting Cars, which premiered in 2012 and ran for 10 seasons. The same pattern followed Steve Grad, the autograph authenticator from PSA/DNA, who frequently examined signed baseballs, guitars, and Beatles memorabilia. Steve was already respected within the collectibles industry before the cameras arrived, but Pawn Stars made him recognizable far beyond hardcore collectors. After the hiatus, he continued working full-time in authentication, while becoming a regular attraction at memorabilia conventions, where his television fame significantly increased his demand and appearance fees. Even smaller recurring figures benefited. Jesse Amoroso used his appearances to bring new attention to the nonprofit Pinball Hall of Fame in Las Vegas. The increased visibility helped drive more visitors and donations, contributing to the museum's move into a much larger facility in 2021. For most of these experts, Pawn Stars was never their main source of income. It was exposure, a national platform that expanded businesses they had already built long before the cameras arrived. So when production stopped, most simply returned to their industries with bigger reputations and stronger careers. But not everyone connected to the show walked away cleanly. For some, the years after Pawn Stars only brought trouble once the fame began to fade. What kind of problems did these cast members have to face? When the spotlight turned dark.
Just from what I can see here real quick, this is absolutely fantastic. So what are some of the best pieces we have in here?
Well, Charles Ebbets, I think, is the #1.
Not everyone connected to Pawn Stars came out of the experience stronger. One of the most serious cases involved Jeremy Brown, a frequent firearms and militaria expert who appeared in more than 40 episodes. In December 2019, Jeremy was arrested in Las Vegas and later charged in connection with stolen vintage military artifacts, allegedly traced back to a private collector. Investigators claimed some of the items had been sold through Jeremy's own business. He eventually pleaded guilty to a reduced misdemeanor charge in 2021 and received probation. After the arrest, his appearances on Pawn Stars ended immediately, and he has not been connected to the franchise since. A quieter, but equally damaging fall surrounded Johnny Jimenez, the pop culture memorabilia appraiser known for authenticating celebrity autographs and collectibles. In 2017,
TMZ is reporting that Johnny Jimenez Jr. is charged with domestic violence for allegedly pulling his girlfriend to the ground.
Online collector communities accused Johnny of repeatedly certifying forged signatures, including alleged fake Michael Jordan and Beatles autographs sold through eBay. no criminal charges followed. But within the collectibles world, credibility is everything. Once trust disappeared, so did the business. By 2018, the production team had quietly stopped bringing him back, and his appraisal operation eventually collapsed. For some, the spotlight became a burden rather than an opportunity, and the fall afterwards was brutal. But the darkest stories connected to Pawn Stars belong to the cast members who never lived to see the show's uncertain ending at all. Which stars passed away during or after the series? The darkest stars. The most significant loss to ever happen on the show was the loss of Richard Benjamin Harrison Jr., known to viewers as the Old Man. A co-founder of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, he passed away on June 25, 2018, in Las Vegas at the age of 77 after a long battle with Parkinson's disease. His son Rick confirmed the news publicly, calling him his hero, while the family shop stated he passed away peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. Richard had been part of the business since its founding in 1989 and remained a core presence on the show from its debut in 2009. His blunt humor, disciplined outlook, and quiet authority became central to the series' identity. When his health declined in later seasons, his absence was immediately felt, and the dynamic of the show never fully recovered from it. A more private tragedy struck the Harrison family in January 2024, when Adam Harrison, Rick's son, lost his life at the age of 39 in Las Vegas. Unlike Corey, Adam never became part of the television series and lived largely outside the public eye. The Clark County Coroner's Office later confirmed his passing as an accidental overdose involving fentanyl and methamphetamine toxicity. Then there was Jimmy DeRamus, star of the Pawn Stars spin-off Cajun Pawn Stars, lost his life on July 13, 2023, at the age of 71 from complications related to cancer. He co-ran Silver Dollar Pawn and Jewelry in Louisiana with his family and helped extend the franchise beyond Las Vegas, bringing a regional variation of the concept into its own audience. Taken together, these deaths reveal a reality beneath the surface of Pawn Stars. Beyond the deals and entertainment, it is a world made up of real people and real endings. Despite all the loss and work suspension, how did the show's central figure, Rick Harrison, deal with the aftermath? Picking the pieces. Rick didn't stumble into the pawn business. He was forged by it. The man who would become the face of Pawn Stars was born Richard Kevin Harrison on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina. But it wasn't the Carolinas that shaped him. It was San Diego, where his Navy veteran father was transferred in 1967, and later Las Vegas, where the family relocated in 1981 after his parents' real estate business collapsed. At age 8, Rick began suffering from epileptic seizures so severe that they confined him to bed for weeks at a time. Yet what could have been a debilitating limitation became an unexpected gift. Bedridden and unable to participate in sports, he read voraciously. He devoured everything from physics texts to history books, with a particular obsession for the Royal Navy of the late 17th century to the early 18th century. He credits reading with saving his life. School didn't keep his attention. Rick dropped out during 10th grade to pursue a $2,000 a week business selling knockoff Gucci bags. By 1981, he was in Las Vegas, working days for his father at the 300-square-foot gold and silver coin shop, and repossessing cars at night. In 1989, Rick and his father Richard obtained a pawn license and opened the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop at 713 Las Vegas Boulevard South, less than 2 miles from the Strip. By 2005, the shop was loaning out about $3 million annually, bringing in roughly $700,000 in interest income. Then the show ended, and Rick began picking up the pieces. The indefinite hiatus in early 2025 didn't leave him idle. With his son Corey permanently relocating to Tulum, Mexico, and publicly stating he would not return, Rick did what he has always done: pivoted. In January 2025, he and Chumlee launched Pawn After Dark, a weekly podcast recorded in the back of the gold and silver pawn shop. The show features guests ranging from UFC legends like Chuck Liddell to magicians and conspiracy theorists, with Rick maintaining his familiar, unfiltered conversational style. But the most significant news came in December 2025, when it was confirmed that Pawn Stars would return to film new episodes in early 2026, slated to premiere in 2027, but with a slimmed-down lineup: Rick and Chumlee only. Corey will not be involved. Rick has framed this as Pawn Stars 2.0, a reinvention rather than a repeat. Yet even as he looks forward, legal and personal battles rage in the background. In February 2022, his 81-year-old mother, Joanne Harrison, sued him. She alleged that while she was hospitalized in a coma in 2000 or 2001, Rick had her sign over her 51% ownership interest in the pawn shop without her full understanding. Joanne claimed she had been cut out of trusts, denied access to documentation of the business's finances, and that payments from Rick, once $25,000 per month, stopped entirely in March 2020. She also alleged she was kept in the dark about a $3 million loan secured against her assets. Rick responded publicly, "The allegations are false, and I think that my 81-year-old mother is being manipulated by others for their personal gain." On the personal front, Rick has continued moving forward. In January 2026, he married nurse Angie Polushkin in a surprise Las Vegas ceremony officiated by an Elvis impersonator at the Little White Chapel. It is his 5th marriage. He continues to operate the gold and silver pawn shop, and in May 2026, he made headlines by speaking at the White House Small Business Summit, praising the Trump administration's policies for small businesses in an impromptu speech. From a bedridden child with epilepsy to the face of one of cable television's most successful franchises, and now a man navigating the messy, unscripted reality of lawsuits, family fractures, and a show he refuses to let die, Rick remains a fighter. The pawn shop doors are still open. The cameras are coming back. And the man who learned to read for his life is still writing his next chapter. What would you miss the most about Pawn Stars, and which of these cast members would you love to watch if Pawn Stars ever has a second edition? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.